Namaste, angels. Oh, did you see the orb that went right by immediately? So this is no kind of background for that I planned on using. I actually planned on being live and sitting by the water, one of my favorite places, especially when I'm working on cleansing. Water is cleansing and purifying, and it just didn't work out that way. Earlier, I happened to have my tablet with me while I was outside, and I said, let me try to go live, and I'll remind everybody about the live that I'm gonna do tonight, and I'll just check it out. It'll be like a dry run to make sure that everything's working properly. Well, sure enough, that was my intuition kicking in to tell me that everything was not working properly, and I arrived at YouTube's page, youtube.com/livestream, unable to load, 404 error. Please try again later. I actually posted a picture of that on Facebook, and said, well, maybe I should just record a video and upload it and premiere it live rather than going live. So I really, really apologize. And now it's probably not even going to be at 8 o'clock, which I wanted. I happen to have this deck of cards here that I was going to do my daily reading for tomorrow afterward, and I'm starting with Major Arcana card number 8, Injustice. It was 88 degrees today in Manhattan. My phone updated at 2:19 in the afternoon with that information. 2:19, which is of course equals 11:19. Wow. Okay. You see what's happening? I'm not even going to, stop. I'm just going to fix that. That's all. But that's crazy. Or that was crazy. Can I just fix it? There's another orb. There's another one. There's another one. It's them. Why did you knock my camera down? I don't even know what I was saying now. But yeah, I've just been having all kinds of issues with the Mercury retrograde. The eights, yes. So there were a gazillion eights in my readings that I did this weekend. So the general weekly reading for the week, the love reading rather for the week, and the Capricorn full moon reading that I did. Just eights showing up everywhere. Of course, eights are about abundance and karma. And I mentioned in the sort of prelude that I did before the Capricorn full moon reading that I entitled About This Moon, that in Supreme Math, 8 represents build, destroy. And it basically means that if you are not with us, you're against us. If you're not helping to build, helping to contribute to society, to humanity, to the higher good, then you are against us. If you're on the sidelines, you're against us. It's only contributors that are helping us that are with us. And so that's something to remember, because I really see that coming into play over the next, several months, maybe from here on out, no more like standing by idly and just watching things, atrocities and injustices happen to people. Like, we have to speak up and we have to stand up, even if it's not, something that's happening to us. I posted on my YouTube feed a picture of ASAP Rocky going on about how he didn't care about Ferguson, and he, wasn't into that. He doesn't understand why he's expected to be into it. He's asking, is it because I'm black? Is that why I should care about these things? Well, yeah, that's one reason. Maybe also because you're human, because some woman lost her son for no reason, and it's happening all over the country, mostly to black people, and mostly to black men or males, further to that. So yes, you should care. He went on to say, he's unfamiliar with that sort of life and those experiences because he's from Soho and California, like Hollywood and whatever. And no, he's from Harlem, actually. He might live in Soho now. He's from Harlem, like myself. I'm from Harlem too. I was born in Harlem, but I live downtown too. I live in the financial district. My kids were zoned for schools in Tribeca. Zoned for and attended public schools in Tribeca. I'm still black. I still recall that I'm black. I still stand up for not only black people, but people that are being oppressed. The oppressed minority. you know. And that's, again, that's what I feel we're all going to have to do, whether we fall into that category, you know, in one way or another, or we don't. So, what does all this mean together? It means that, yes, abundance is on its way to us, but also at the same time, yes, there are many, many blocks and things preventing us from receiving it. Some of them are pretty common. I just wanted to mention some that I think can be really difficult to navigate, but that we don't talk about as much as some others. One is the vow of solitude. And, you know, again, there are many factors and blocks in the form of vows and soul ties and contracts that can lead to difficulty in love, like a vow of celibacy, for example, which would allow you to find and give love as well as to be loved, but to suffer from intimacy issues. Or maybe a vow of poverty, which may cause you to feel unworthy and undeserving, like in a general sense, not just as it relates to finances and or the material. But this one, this vow of solitude, I think can be one of the more difficult ones to navigate, because when one's soul believes it's meant to be lonely and or nomadic, even when we found someone awesome with whom we feel we can like check off all the boxes of how great they are, all the pros, we may still feel like we have nothing, like, you know. And this is what people don't understand about people that are like suffering from different types of depression. You say, well, you're so rich and you're so surrounded by so many people. How can you feel alone when there's 50 million people around you? Perhaps they, you know, had signed up for one of these vows of solitude before being born. Actually, I meant to start talking about that first, the things that we commit to before we're even incarnated. So you can still feel with this vow of solitude, even if you are surrounded physically, like you have no one to turn to, no one, no nothing. You know, you just feel unsupported and alone. I think a lot of Geminis committed to this one, particularly Gemini males. They're all like nomads. They go off by themselves, and it's not conducive to a healthy, you know, romantic relationship when, you know, he wants to be alone all the time and he goes off. I really think that's in part why my children's father, it's my ex-husband, we were legally married for over 20 years, but I'm trying to get more used to calling him my children's father so as not to continue to reinforce our connection and to keep like reconnecting our souls by calling him my husband anyway. So that's another thing. Let me just throw that out there as a freebie. I mean, this whole thing is a freebie. I'm doing this. I'm not charging anybody to help them with breaking these curses. But yeah, throw that in as an additional freebie, that you may not want to reinforce your connection to somebody with whom you've severed. So another one of these vows that can be really difficult is a vow of martyrdom. And that's when we'll put ourselves out for other people or even lower animals, you know, and feel as if we're a particularly good person or even better than another maybe for having done this. If we sacrifice ourselves for the sake of, you know, such people or lower animals, and this people pleasing and or animal pleasing, you know, it makes us better than everybody else. But in reality, it really just leaves us feeling physically and emotionally exhausted and under, or sometimes just unappreciated, or at least feeling that way. And that can lead to general feelings of frustration with life and depression as well. It can also sometimes be meshed with or confused with a vow of undying loyalty. And this is one where we feel trapped in situations and relationships regardless of how the other person or persons treat us, and that causes us to continue to attract experiences where we allow employers, friends, colleagues, whatever, you know, so-called loved ones, etc., to treat us poorly. And you find yourself saying things like, you know, yeah, you know, my husband is mean, he does beat me, but at the same time he takes care of us, you know, he provides, you know, these kind of crazy things, like, what, you know, she tried to kill me, but she's my sister, how can I stop speaking to her? Excuse me, huh? Like, because these things unfortunately happen in real life. Some people actually follow through with that sort of stuff. If somebody is, you know, consumed by darkness and unwilling or unable to release that, and is out for you, then that's just the case. And those are the people from whom we need to celebrate. But if we've signed up at some point for this like vow of undying loyalty, then we may be having difficulty breaking away from these people. So how do we get rid of these contracts, right? How do we void them and clear them? Well, the first thing that we need to do through introspection, so like hermit mode, fellow earth energy, to this Capricorn moon. The hermit represents the sign of Virgo in the tarot, so it's this kind of earthy practicality based thought that we need to enlist, and we need to use it to go within and to think of maybe if we've been keeping a contract that we no longer want going, and then begin to figure out, well, how can I break it? So first we have to realize, understand, no, you cannot just break any and all, any old soul contract that you choose to. That's just not the way it works. Like I explain to people, I do this for a living, right? And at higher levels than what I'm about to teach you. I've exorcised demons. I helped my mother to be healed from cancer. I couldn't just make the cancer disappear. Well, I don't want to say I couldn't, because I might be able to. But at that time, I didn't know, and I still don't know at present, how to do that. Although it's possible that I can. But what I did know how to do, and what I did do, was after they called us down to say that they could do nothing else for my mother, basically saying, your mother's terminal and she's going to die. I said, okay, you can't do nothing else for my mother, but listen, I can. And I did my thing. And what had been inoperable stage 4 cancer became operable, and they removed it, and my mother has cancer no longer. So essentially, in effect, I still cured her of cancer, although I needed to go through a doctor. And now this is another thing. I don't want you to think that any kind of healing that you go to for anyone, is necessarily a replacement for a doctor. It can be, but it isn't always. So I'll give you another example of another of my clients. I did a healing for her and then went back and told her, but there's something that I saw. There's some sort of, quote unquote, feminine issue. I saw hormonal imbalance. I saw vitamin deficiency. And, it's a female thing. And she went to her doctor. Sure enough, she was perimenopausal and had a severe hormonal imbalance and needed treatment. I couldn't physically treat her, nor, had I been at that time, again, able to just make it all go away and disappear. But I still, in effect, healed her of that, because but for our contact and what I did do, she wouldn't have gone to the doctor and gotten right. So it's that sort of thing. And all of that started with them, with her realizing something's blocked, something's not right. Let me go to Queen for this service, right? So that's what we need to be able to do too, to look within into self-discovery of what's not right, what we're able to handle ourselves in an honest and legitimate way. Like, yes, sure, we're all able to go to the store, and a game store and buy a Ouija board or to buy tarot cards. But are we truly all able to properly use them? The answer is no. The answer is no. We can, all call ourselves healers, but we don't all share the same dimensional reality, gifts, talents, level of ability, capacity, none of it. So, but this is something that I'm going to help you to do for yourself. So that really most important part, and that goes with everything, right? They always say the most important part is admitting that you have a problem. So that, yeah, same thing here. We're going to admit that we have a problem. And for example, if the vow of martyrdom is the problem, like I just, that one that I just mentioned, then we're going to need to continue to observe ourselves in that regard and begin to consciously notice and count how often we sacrifice ourselves and our needs and, for these other people. Or again, it's possible some people do it with animals. And, like I'm not going to eat, but I'm going to buy my dog food. I can't afford to feed myself. I'm going to buy. What? That's illogical. You know what I mean? And you're going to die. And then who's going to take care of the dog? Or, it's like when you're in an airplane and they teach you, in case we end up in a problem, you got to take down the oxygen mask and put the oxygen on yourself first before your child. You have to be well in order to be able to help other people in a true and genuine way. So we got to realize that, and we got to start to watch, ourselves for these patterns and to see maybe what behavior provoked it. Either from the other person or from ourselves. What kind of state of mind were we in at the time, and begin to, make note of this or take note of this, and then it'll become, easier as we go along to see. Oh, okay, this is what happened. Oh, that's what happened, and then after we got that part down, we begin to have like these little epiphanies and stuff, because it's like you're watching yourself from the outside. You really get to see, oh, I did that again. And it's like, watching a movie. At that point, once you're doing that, then you've got a good enough, grasp of it to kind of know what you need to do here. Is this something that I can heal myself, clear myself, or do I need to go see someone else? Or both. Right? I need to do something myself, and maybe I need to go see someone else. Now, there are words. Words have power, and there are things that we can speak over ourselves that are powerful and will change our energy and our mindset, particularly if we are genuinely open to it. You ever heard of, like, the people say with hypnosis, for example, it only works on people who believe hypnosis can work, in large part. I mean, I've heard of some people that were able to do it on people even that, disbelieve it completely. And they're like, oh, it's not going to work on me. Next thing you know, they're asleep. But it's one of these things. We have to genuinely have the faith that it can work. Right? If you disbelieve it yourself, then the universe can see that, right, and sense that and feel that you don't even believe this, so it doesn't believe it. It doesn't take you seriously. Let's start with the karmic debt, though, right? So we want to clear karmic debt. So again, you can't just clear any kind of karmic debt. Even people like myself will say, I'm unable, or they should. If they don't, they are lying to you, and get away from that person, okay? I can only clear karma that has been completed. Now, we complete karma, and sometimes it's past lifetimes. We've been completed this karma. But there's I call it like sludge, karmic gook, sludge, gunk, that's still mucking up the works, kind of like a pipe. And I clear it out. I wash it out, I cleanse it, and then your pipe flows. And as soon as I do that, people with whom I'm worked, all of a sudden, their intuitive dreams start coming back. And sometimes their mates and partners that had been, from whom they had been separated, they start coming back. And, whatever other gifts they had, spiritual gifts, the divination, or even, in regular 3D type work, they were particularly talented in an area. They, again, are as strong as they had been at one point. Like people say, oh, I used to be able to sing, but now I can't. Or I used to be able to draw, but now I can't. I don't know what's happening. I used to be more athletic, whatever. It comes back when we've cleared these things, or when we've washed the gunk away. At this point, this part, I'm going to speak it. I think I said this to you before, that I'm going to speak it. I'm going to say it slowly for anyone that wants to repeat after me. But if you do not want to repeat after me and you just want to have me speak this over you, then you can accept it before, during, after, whenever you want, at any point, what I've said. And, feel free to disagree and rebuke anything that I say too, and not accept it over yourself. All right. And always, again, that's something else. Like, never work with anybody who's not like that. So we're going to start with clearing karmic debt. I, and then insert name here. So for me, I, Mariama, or Queen of Swords, forgive myself and any and everyone else I think has harmed me. Throughout all dimensions, throughout all concepts of space and time, on all levels of consciousness, throughout all aspects of existence. Please remove all debts as I forgive them, and erase any and all related karma. I send love and light throughout my soul complex to any and all of my past, present, and future selves, and to the souls of anyone else involved. Now, this you may need to repeat more than once, because what you should feel after you say that, and maybe not while the video is still on, but when you're in your own peace afterward, you should feel, that you've been eased in some, so that you should feel a sense of freedom and gratitude if it's worked. And if you don't feel that yet, this is something, again, that you can repeat until you do. I'm going to move on to clearing ancestral agreements, because I think that this is one that many of us have a problem with. I was also going to read my prayer over divine unions. And maybe I'll come back and do that separately, because I just hadn't wanted to. I said I'm going to speak slowly so that people can repeat after me, but that one is so involved. I'm also happy to share it with people too. By the way, I wrote all of this. Those of you familiar with my channel know that when I'm reading from something that someone else wrote, I give them the credit that they deserve so as not to plagiarize their work. I wrote all of this. Clearing ancestral agreements. As the light worker, bringer, and bearer of my genetic line and lineage, on behalf of myself, my ancestors, and descendants, I, Mariama, Queen of Swords, insert your name here, now cancel, clear, delete, reject, rebuke, and sever all vows, contracts, hooks, cords, hexes, promises, curses, threats, spells, beliefs, and patterns, including but not limited to those contracts that were perceived to be irrevocable, those that were entered into consciously or unconsciously, as well as all that are secret, hidden, invisible, covert, unseen, unheard, unknown, unacknowledged, and undisclosed, throughout all dimensions, all concepts of space and time, on all levels of consciousness, throughout all aspects of existence. I declare them null and void in this incarnation and any and all of our carnations, mine as well as my ancestors and descendants. I block all further access, all future access to us all for all time on all subtle levels via any and every possible instrument, such as, but not limited to, crystal, implant, or other object, negative emotions, veils, and false and misguided illusions. These limiting blockages are now broken and released in my lineage, my ancestors, my descendants, and myself are free and restored to divine perfection, with any and all voids, tears, or memory channels that have been left vacant being filled with golden creator substance, love, light, happiness, joy, and prosperity. Amen. And that's all there is. I'd continue. It's exactly 8:02. I'm supposed to be on live right now, so I'm going to get this uploaded and premiered as quickly as I can. This was, of course, was done. This is something for the dark to make me not be able to reach as many of you as I would like to with this message and with these words of blessing and freedom over your life. But do share them with others, with as many people as you can. Thank you for joining me, for liking, sharing, and subscribing to my channel and my videos in general. I do appreciate you and any and all the many ways that you support me. You know, I couldn't even find my live schedule, my scheduled live on YouTube. I couldn't even find it. That's another thing. Mercury Retrograde. So it is what it is. I'll get this to you as quickly as possible. Thank you guys. Namaste.